Be vegan. Make peace. Do good deeds. Heaven, Godspeed.
Warning: sensitive content.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nos programas offrent plusieurs langues. Veuillez visiter suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nuestros programas ofrecen varios idiomas. Visiten suprememastertv.com/schedule.
हमारे कार्यक्रम पेश किए जाते कई भाषाओं में कृपया देखें suprememastertv.com/schedule.
So many problems, whether it was your intention or not to solve those problems, but so many problems just get solved naturally as a side benefit of pursuing veganism.
Skyler Thomas, Vegan, Helping to Protect Endangered Species, Part 2 of 2. Please continue watching to learn why government regulations do not always serve the common good.
Yeah, continue with your war, so that you can be roasted forever again, and again, non-stop in hellfire.
Placid viewers, Danit A. My name is Edzo, and I just asked, how are you, in the language spoken by members of the Kichon Nation in Canada's Northwest Territories. The weather outside may be cold, but the hearts of these resilient people are very warm. They pray for divine light to brighten your path to the truth. Welcome to our program titled Skyler Thomas, Vegan, Helping to Protect Endangered Species, Part 2 of 2. December 4th is Wildlife Conservation Day. It has been observed in the United States since 2012 and is now celebrated globally. As the consequences of climate change loom larger each day, people from both the human and animal kingdoms are striving to adapt. But the wild faunas of the planet are especially at risk and in need of help. In our previous show, we met Skyler Thomas, a vegan, educator, wildlife ecologist, and independent filmmaker. Out of a heartfelt longing for peaceful coexistence, he has devoted his life to investigating instances where animal people have been misunderstood and mistreated. In 2021, Mr. Thomas kindly set aside time for an online meeting with Supreme Master Television team members. He described how the interests of ranchers in Northern California's Point Reyes National Seashore were at odds with native species well-being. In the second half of the interview, the discussion turned to the making of Great White Lies, Mr. Thomas's documentary about shark people and the director's transition to a vegan diet.
Great White Lies, I was actually trying to make another film. I was in South Africa pursuing the story of this TV show crew that was exploiting science in order to go big game fishing for protected species. And while I was in South Africa, I got news that Western Australia was going to pursue culling of great white sharks, which is a protected species in their waters, which kind of goes against the entire point of being a protected species. And it was an unjustified plan for many, many reasons, but there was a deeper underlying story in that humans just aren't willing to share the planet if there's any sort of risk involved, whether that be a real risk or a blown up risk. And that's kind of what the film's underlying tone is. But I went to Australia, went to Western Australia, and I went to South Australia, and I went to New South Wales, and I went to New Zealand in order to make that film. And if people don't know what shark culling is, it's the intentional eradication of a species or drastic reduction of the population of species for whatever reason. And in this case, the reason is tourism, or as it's promoted, human safety. And it turns out that, kind of like in other conservation documentaries, when you dig into it, you find out that there are special interest groups behind it, fishermen, or in this case, real estate owners and the politicians that are owned by those people. And you blow up the idea of the threat that the sharks pose in order to get the government to overturn or amend a status of a species and go out and kill the very same animals that that government has agreed to protect.
Great white shark people have been assessed as vulnerable by the International Union for Conservation of Nature, or IUCN, since 1996. Why did the government believe the species was so dangerous that it disregarded its own protection policy?
Well, a professor that I spoke with in New South Wales had been following the politics of shark bites, and he was very interesting to talk to, because these politicians are basically basing their policy for dealing with nature on Jaws, on the fictional film Jaws, and a belief that there is such thing as a rogue shark, or a shark that decides to take up nest in your beach for the holidays and hunt down all your children or your honeymooners, or whatever the tabloids decide to depict people as, because it's never that there was just an accident. It's that somehow this shark had darker intent to ruin a family or to ruin people's lives or something like that. That's really how these policies are made, by uneducated people with no concept of how nature works or how ecology works. And in fact, the scientific community was completely opposed to it. And there was a international cooperation of scientists signing a letter pleading with the government not to do this, and just didn't matter, as is often the case when an agenda is already put on the table.
We asked Mr. Thomas to help us understand why we continue to see unjust laws implemented against the natural order of life.
Politicians are controlled by the people who pay for their campaigns. And those people, whether we're talking about big ag or big oil, these moguls have so much money invested. They have these incredible empires. They don't want to see that crumble. They don't want to see change take place. And part of preventing that change from ever taking place, even with the blaring truth in front of our eyes, is to put out greenwashing propaganda and to control your politicians who make the decisions. The population in the films that I've made have actually opposed the proposals of the politicians. The people have actually spoken in favor of the wildlife for both sharks and for the elk and whatever other wildlife you want to throw into the picture. They all benefit from it. As critical as I have been and am about us as human beings pursuing money rather than the true value of being on this earth, even in the face of that, people oppose these plans of the politicians. And the politicians just go through with their agendas, business as usual, no matter what the people say. So you're not being represented. You are having decisions made by someone who is being controlled by someone who has their business interests in mind. And I'm not sure how you get past that, because all politicians need to get into their positions of power through public support and public financing. So it's a tough, dangerous little battle we have to fight.
About 3 years before he spoke with us, Mr. Thomas realized it was hypocritical to be making films about protecting wildlife while he continued eating meat. So he upgraded his diet and became a vegan. We asked him to talk about the benefits of making such a change.
So many problems, whether it was your intention or not to solve those problems, but so many problems just get solved naturally as a side benefit of pursuing veganism. You no longer have to have nearly 50% of the United States dedicated to grazing land, pastoral land. That means we have handed half of our country to cows, not to feeding human beings, but to cows, which means that half of that United States used to be wild and open. Go take that to the ocean. You stop the pursuit of eating fish, and all of a sudden we no longer need all this fishing gear that is polluting the ocean and clogging the ocean and killing all these animals in passive but horrifying ways. So many side benefits come with it, and the planet itself also gets to be healthier. Point Reyes is a fantastic example of how biodiversity flourishes when you allow nature to do its thing versus the monocultured pursuit of crops and plants for a financial purpose. And in that land, it just feels healthier. It smells healthier. The water is cleaner. All of these benefits that the earth would receive by us just not continuing to try to consume things we don't need to consume are benefits that could start from you wanting to be healthier as a person. Even though I didn't become a vegan for health purposes, those who have watched my films have come up to me and said, you know what, I used to have this problem, or I used to have that problem, and I went vegan and it solved it. I couldn't figure out how to solve it, but when I changed my diet, suddenly all these problems went away. That's pretty powerful. So we personally can benefit from it. The animals can benefit from it. The planet can benefit from it. All these good things can happen from it. So how desperate are you to continue to make excuses just not to do the right thing?
We thank Mr. Thomas for sharing his precious time and insights with us. His courage to take a stand and draw critical attention to unacceptable actions against the wildlife is a great inspiration, and we especially appreciate his encouragement to avoid the noise of other people's opinions and always be true to our own inner voice. For more information about Mr. Thomas and his work, please visit youtube.com/c/watching humans/videos.
No to vegan, cause heavens are too peaceful and blissful for you, right?
Ingenious viewers, thank you so much for your company today. Next is Vegan Sourdough Cinnamon Roll, Part 1 of 2, Classic Style and German Style, Hansbrötchen. May your days be full of wonder and gratitude.
Be vegan. Make peace. Do good deeds. Hell not reach.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/AW.